Welcome to the Exploring Potential podcast, where we delve into the realm of unique and novel ideas within organizations. Join us as we uncover the driving force behind innovation and success by engaging in thought-provoking conversations and stories with some of the brightest minds in various fields. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us and welcome to the Exploring Potential podcast. I'm your host, Brett King. Today we're going to cover clarifying organizational vision and structure. Clarifying your organizational vision and structure is crucial for several reasons. First of all, a clear organizational vision gives everyone a shared goal to work toward. It helps employees understand what the organization aims to achieve in the long term, guiding decision-making at all levels. When the vision is clear, it's easier to align all the aspects of the organization with that vision. This includes aligning departmental goals, individual roles, daily tasks, and ensuring that every action contributes to the broader objectives. A well-defined structure streamlines processes and clearly lays out roles and responsibilities. This reduces confusion and overlaps in work, leading to increased efficiency and productivity. Clear vision and structure can also facilitate better communication. It can boost employee engagement, attract and retain talent, and increase accountability. Not having a well-defined vision and company structure can lead to several drawbacks and challenges for an organization. That includes the lack of direction, reduced efficiency and productivity, poor employee morale, difficulty making decisions, challenges in collaboration, difficulty in managing change, and even obstacles to scalability and growth. So, clarifying our organizational vision and structure is essential for driving efficiency, alignment, and engagement within our organizations. It forms the foundation upon which successful business strategies are built and executed. Now, we're fortunate today to be joined by an expert at helping organizations clarify their vision and structure, Mike Maddox. Mike is going to help us understand the importance of this effort, as well as some specific tactics to help get us there. Mike helps business owners, executives, and leadership teams gain clarity, simplicity, and get what they want from their businesses. He has 30 years of experience ranging from entrepreneurial business ownership, leading 10x growth, to the top executive of a large multinational, driving out inefficiency and creating unity of vision. For over 30 years, Mike has fought dysfunction and inefficiency. His passion is helping others to do the same through the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. Mike, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hey, Brett, it's great to be with you. I'm really excited to join you today.
Awesome. We're going to have a great chat, and I appreciate your time. Before we get too far in, would you mind just kicking us off with a quick background of your career experience and now what has become your current focus?
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on my bio, man. That sounds more impressive than I thought. So thank you for that. My history is as an entrepreneur. So at heart, I'm an entrepreneur, and in that role, I was able to grow my business in Michigan between 2004 and 2021. And you mentioned the 10x growth. We went through a very explosive growth period. Every entrepreneur's dream, right, is just massive growth. Well, it was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but we also found that with explosive growth came some issues and some problems and some dysfunction. And that's when I discovered EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System that you mentioned, and we implemented that at my company, and it was truly life-changing for us. It did everything that I had hoped it would do. It took work. But over time, we were able to get that clarity of vision. We were able to get alignment and traction, and we were able to become a lot healthier. That ultimately led to us selling the business. The valuations were phenomenal, went up, and we were able to sell the business in 2021. I took that as an opportunity to go to work for the multinational that bought us and ended up running that business for a couple of years and did the same thing. Implemented the foundational elements of EOS into that business and got the same results. And so today, what I do is I help business owners get the same kind of results that I got at my company in Michigan and at the multinational that I went to work for. And I've kind of traded a paycheck for passion, I guess you'd say, because I'm really passionate about, as you mentioned, inefficiency and alignment and vision and culture and core values and processes. And I know the way to get there, and I've experienced it. And I love to share that with other business owners.
I think that's the key part of what I've gathered is the way to get there. You clearly have a proven track record of taking companies there, and that's really exciting. So the fact that you're spending your time on that now, I imagine, is just incredibly valuable for those that are working with you.
And it's incredibly gratifying for me. It doesn't feel like a job. It's something that, as I said, I'm truly passionate about. I'm at the stage in my career where I can do this and just get up every day excited about, who I'm going to be able to help and how I'm going to be able to lean in and just do what I can to help businesses progress and succeed.
Love that. So from your perspective, Mike, what does it mean, if you would define this for us, for an organization to really clarify its vision and structure? What are we talking about?
Yeah, vision, it all starts with vision, in my opinion. When you talk about taking your business and getting healthy and getting foundational elements under you and gaining traction and fighting dysfunction, it starts with the vision. And I think so many businesses, Brett, are, in a place where they don't really know where they're headed. They could be, successful, they could be struggling, but they have this in common, that they don't know what the end goal is or what the end destination looks like or where it is. And defining that, and not only defining that as a leadership team or as an ownership group, but getting everyone to buy into that and to clearly see it changes everything, because it gives you a roadmap of where you're trying to get to. So the foundation of everything that I do starts with, what's the vision? What are you trying to achieve? And that's different for every business. Not every business wants to grow 10x. Not every business wants to ultimately sell. Not every business, they want to transition, or they may just want to, expand or bring in employee ownership. There's different goals, but what is that vision? And then once you define that, you can talk about how are we going to get there.
Right. Oh, that's really, really well put, which I'm sure kind of transitions us. So we've got vision, and I've got some follow-ups on that. But before we move from there, what about the structure piece of that? How does that play in?
Yeah. So, if you have the vision defined and you know where you're headed, the next component that's critical is making sure that you have the right people in the right seats. And I think any business owner out there listening to you and I today can relate to the fact that often we have people in positions that maybe are not a direct fit or a good fit for their skill set, or maybe they're just the wrong people, but they might be really smart, or they might be really productive, but there's some toxicity. And defining right person in the right seat is so critically important. And we went through that, and it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy to identify somebody who's not aligned with your core values. That's another part of the foundation, is defining your core values as a business. You're not making them up. They're not aspirational. What do we want to be? It's who are you as a business? What do you truly believe in? What matters to you? And if you can define that, you can then evaluate, do the people that we have meet those core values? And if they don't, can they? And if they can't, you need different people. But right people in the right seats is where it starts. And then if you have that, you define the organizational structure or the accountability chart. What are the roles that are going to take us where we need to get to in the next year or the next 90 days sometimes? And then what are the responsibilities of those roles? And how do we measure those responsibilities? What direct measurement can we put on each role? But what I found is, when I first implement that in a business, a lot of people think, okay, that's micromanagement. You want to put metrics on me. You want to micromanage. It's the opposite of that. It's what does it take? It's a collaborative discussion. What does it take for you to be successful and to be winning in your role? And in fact, all good people, good employees, they want that. They crave that. They want to know what that looks like. They want to go home at the end of the day feeling like, yeah, I'm killing it. Like, I'm moving forward toward that vision. I'm moving the company forward.
Right. So when we talk about structure, it's not just like, oh, we should have this position, that position, right? It's actually taking it as far as saying the right people in the right seats. So yes, it is about this position, that position, but it's deeper than that. It's how does that position play into the overall long-term vision? How are they going to contribute, and how are we going to measure that they're contributing?
Right.
Am I hearing that correctly?
You're hearing it exactly correct. What are the roles of that seat? I mean, you don't create. I mean, too often we start with just a template organizational chart, and we all feel like, okay, we got to have a VP of sales, we got to have a head of finance, we got to have a head of operations, we need a head of maybe HR, IT. Do you? I mean, start asking yourself questions about, and this is what I coach clients on, what are the roles of that seat? Forget the names. And that's usually where clients will come to me with is, well, we have Susie and she's head of finance. Well, let's forget all the people. Let's just set up a structure that's going to get us where we need to go, and let's define the roles. And sometimes the seat that you think you need, you don't need, or maybe you don't need yet. So that's where it starts. And then finding the right people to fill those seats and the right measurables is all part of that exercise.
Right. Thank you for going that much further, because again, I think structure can, just that word alone can mean a lot of things. And it means there's so much depth to that in this conversation than just surface level structure. So I'm glad that we went into that level of detail. I had one quick follow up on the vision piece. You had talked about the end destination. Could you speak to, when creating a company vision, without going through the entire motions on, we could spend the whole day, right? A vision setting day.
Yeah.
Without going through that, what are the time frames that you look at when vision setting? Because you had mentioned an end destination, but for those that maybe don't want to sell, when defining that vision, what do those time frames look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's different for every business. So in EOS, they talk about the 10-year target, right? Where are we going to be in 10 years? But what I found with many clients is that 10 years for some companies does not fit with where they're at and where they want to go. Sometimes it's a 5-year target or a 3-year target. In my business, it was a 5-year. Now, we called it the island. In fact, I didn't coin that. It was the staff that came up with that, because we described what will it look like if we get to this destination. We had our measurables in there. We had revenue, we had profit, we had gross margin, number of employees, number of locations. We had all the things we wanted to achieve. But beyond all that, way more important, what does it look like for everybody in this business? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does the environment look like? And we defined that, and people started to call it the island. If we get to the island, because it was like an island of just, of peaceful bliss, the way we described it. And they really got motivated. People got motivated to get to the island. And I would hear conversations around, is this initiative that we're talking about going to get us closer to the island? Right? They would start to vet what they're doing based on the overall vision. But to answer your question, it could be the time frame is really not as important to me as the destination and the defined date.
Awesome. That makes perfect sense. So there's no hard and fast rule. There's, it's really custom based on who you are, where you want to go, and getting there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Now, why is this all important, right? Why is getting clarity on the vision and the structure so critical, and what are those impacts?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's kind of like, why do I need this? Why do I need EOS? And it's, to me, it goes back to, and I speak from personal experience. We, as business owners and leaders, we spend a lot of time with the business running us, right? It's the old adage of, I wanted to own a business, and then the business ended up owning me. And you feel like you're being pulled by the business, or you're pushing it up a hill, but it's all chaotic. What I try to do is get the structure and the health built in and the vision, so that the business has its own momentum on its own, and you don't feel like you're pushing it up a hill, or that it's just happening accidentally. And that creates freedom. The reason it's important for two reasons. One, for the owner and the executive, it creates freedom. You don't have the same level of anxiety and burden that we carry as business owners. And any business owner listening to you and I is going to understand that loneliness that they have. And then for the staff, it creates a sense of motivation that is unbelievable. The power that comes out of getting everyone aligned and motivated toward the same goal and getting all the right people it becomes an unstoppable force.
Love that. And I can relate, right? I think we all can, and we've talked about EOS on this podcast in the past, and I've shared that we run on EOS, and that's something deeply personal to me. I can relate to those struggles as a business owner, and I know many of our listeners are business owners or on the executive team and are going to really resonate with what you're saying. Now, the other thing, some of them might hear this and say, "Uh-oh, scary, new, change, effort," right?
Yeah.
What are some of the risks to not doing this? What if they don't take the time? Because there's always the trade-off, right? Yeah, we could do this, but oh my gosh, scary time, change, Now, what are the risks to staying the same or not taking the time to intentionally define the vision and structure?
Yeah, I think the risks are what every business owner already knows. There's every company, every business, no matter your size, eventually hits ceilings, right? You hit a ceiling at a certain revenue size or certain employee size or economic conditions or whatever. And when you hit that ceiling, you have three choices. You're either going to fail. And a lot of businesses do fail when they hit those ceilings. Like we went through the recession in 2008, 2009, 10. A lot of businesses went under, right? COVID,
right.
Same thing.
Right.
So that's one option. The other option is and I hate the second option even worse, you're going to tolerate the dysfunction and the pain that you have and bumping your head on that ceiling, or you're going to find a way to break through. So the risk in not doing anything, to me, the greatest risk is you're just going to tolerate the pain. And that's a miserable place to be. I've been there in my career and I never want to be back there again. And then for the staff, they lose motivation, right? They're not vested in the same way you are as an equity owner. They leave, right? Or worse, they stay and they're not motivated.
Right.
So those are the risks that I see. But it's the ability to break through the ceiling that motivates me the most.
That's really well put, that there's really kind of three ways to go when you get yourself to that ceiling. So, staying the same is not, staying the same really, you're not going to stay the same because there's no momentum when you stagnate. So you're going to start moving the opposite direction at some point.
Yeah. I really believe in the adage of grow or die, that you either grow or die. Now, that doesn't mean that every business needs to want to conquer the world and become a multinational or a regional power. There's a lot of my clients that say, look, we want to do what we do in our market, and we want to do it better than anybody else and provide employment. And we're not looking to conquer the state or that's fine, but you are growing toward that, or you're going to be dying. Like there's one of the two choices, because you can only tolerate for so long, because eventually you'll start to either fail or you'll find a way to break through.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, again, there's no stagnation. We're constantly in motion, right? So you're either moving in one direction that you want to be moving in, or you're going to eventually start moving in a direction that maybe you don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You've spoken a bit about this, which I've really appreciated. But I'm wondering if there's anything else that you might have to add in regards to the impact of the employee experience in a company that does have clarity of vision, does have clarity of structure. How does that impact the people there?
Yeah, I can give you an example. So when we implemented EOS into my company, and we became crystal clear on our core values. What are the 5 core values? And it can be 3, it can be 5, it can be 7, but for us it was 5 that define us, that who we are as a business. And then we started to, hire, fire, reward, recognize, promote based on those core values, and not just employees, but clients. We started to vet our clients against our core values. And you know what? We found out that some of our clients were not core value aligned with us. And we had to have difficult conversations with those clients, but healthy conversations to say, we're a mismatch. You view us as a vendor. We view what we do as a way to move your business forward. You don't see it that way. So we need to work through that, or we need to recommend another provider for you. And I had some owners that were shocked because they were profitable, well-paying customers. But it was healthy. And some of them said, you're right. We're not aligned, but I want to be aligned. I like your description. How do we get there? We had others that we parted ways with, but for the staff, the motivation factor behind that and behind, just being committed to that was, unmeasurable. Another thing we did was, we would start to hire, the first interview would be done by me. And so when a new applicant would come in, and we were growing, like I said, explosively, so we're interviewing a lot, my interview was only 15 minutes long. And they would come into my office. It was before COVID, so we didn't do as much electronically, and I wouldn't have their resume. And I would tell them, I don't have your resume. And I don't really know for sure what job you're applying for. And they'd look at me like I was nuts. And I would say, the only thing I'm going to talk to you about is our core values. I'm going to explain to you exactly who we are. And I want to talk to you about if you're like that. Because if you're not, there's nothing wrong with that. You can have your own different set of core values. That's fine. But if you're not aligned with us, you're not going to like it here. And we're probably not going to like you either. No matter how smart you are, capable, how much technical talent you have. But if you are, you're going to help us do something great. And what I found is people that were looking for that kind of an environment were like, they were so motivated to come work for us. It was like the first time they'd ever heard an employer so committed to that. And they would almost take any salary to come work for us. They were like so motivated. And then if they passed that, they went on and somebody else interviewed them on their skills. Somebody else interviewed them on their technical acumen, the position, all that. But the first filter was core values. And that provided a motivating level for our team that was unparalleled.
That makes perfect sense to me. You start with those values because that's who you are at your core. And if somebody's in alignment with that, right, again, it goes back to now it's getting easier for you on the structure side, right people, right seat. Well, they're not the right person if they're not aligned with the values. So that starting there before anything else makes perfect sense to me.
Well, it's like Lencioni in his books talks about, the ideal team player, and 3 characteristics are hungry, smart, and humble. Smart is like technical ability to do your job. Hungry is driven, motivated. Those are important, but man, if humble, what he means by humble is, do they put the team first and do they align with what the team's values are about? If they don't have that, I don't care how good they are, how technically capable they are. I don't care how driven and motivated they are. They're going to be toxic, and they're going to take energy out of your business. And so we had to identify people in the business that were like that, and we had to make sure we filtered people out that were applying that were.
Yes. Like that. I love that. Obviously we come from a training lens with just about everything we do. And, we've said from the beginning, before we were on EOS, is, we hire for personality fit and for, values fit. The skills can be taught, right? Those are less important. Now, would it be amazing to have the best in the world at each, individual skill that we're hiring? Of course. But it's always been, even before we were on EOS, we would always hire for that first, because we can teach you the technical side. We can't teach you if you're not naturally aligned with values and personality. That's harder to teach. And to your point, can be a toxic situation.
And by doing that, what you've done, Brett, at your company, I know enough about your business, the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. You've created something bigger than just the individuals, and it's a cause. And that's what everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Everybody wants to be a part of a cause. I mean, that's human nature. We want that.
Yes. Oh, I love that you said that. Especially these days. These days people are looking for more meaning in their work, even more than they're looking for pay. There's some studies came out recently, I think from Gallup, that kind of showed that pay is, less important. That, not that it's not important. Of course, we all need to get paid, but you're absolutely, there's this uptick, in recent years of individuals. They want meaning in their work. They're not just looking for a job. They want something where they can come in and be bought in, and I like how you put it, a cause they can believe in.
Right. Exactly. 100% agree with that.
So what about our customers or clients? How do they benefit when we get in this alignment?
What was interesting is we went through the transition and became, had our vision locked down and got real traction in the business and became healthier. It was, without telling customers why, it was obvious to our clients that something was different. And they would often ask, they would say, things are different. Like, you're operating differently. Our quarterly meetings are different. What are you doing different? And that's actually how I ended up as an EOS implementer, because many of the staff would say, but we're running on EOS and it's been transformative. And they'd say, what's that? And they'd say, well, we'll have Mike come talk to you. And so I would go out and I would talk to him and I would tell him, this is what I experienced, what I'm doing. And a lot of them said, that's great. Can you do that for us? And I would refer them to an US implementer. And eventually a US implementer, a friend of mine here in town, was like, hey, look, man, I don't have any more room. Why don't you do this? Like, you should go do this. Like, you're so passionate. And that's how I ended up getting my certification, became an implementer, professional implementer. But yeah, it was obvious to them, and many of them are now running on EOS. Some were already on EOS prior to meeting us, but what it does is it creates clients that are aligned with you, and that's what we all need and want as business owners. We want those customers, and you know what, business owners know what I mean when a client's out of alignment. And believe me, it's scary. When I went to 25 clients over the course of 3 months and said, I don't think we're aligned. It was frightening to do that. But man, it was the most healthy thing we ever did as far as client relations go and motivation of staff.
Right. It takes, we talked about the toxicity of an employee that's not aligned. I think there's equal toxicity in a client that's not aligned to your teams. And there's a heaviness that comes with that.
There is, Brett. And the other thing is, if you're a business owner and you're saying we are committed to our core values, we're going to live these out, and you're tolerating a client who violates those core values, you're not walking the walk. Your staff's going to see right through that. They're going to say, well, they don't really mean it, because when it comes to the bottom line, that's really the core value, is the bottom line. And so by going to those clients and saying, I'm willing to part ways, I was saying to my staff, I really mean it. Like, I'm going to run this business on our core values, and regardless of the bottom line. Now, in the end, the bottom line went up because of it. But in the middle of it, it was totally frightening. I didn't know what was going to happen.
But so critical. And I can relate. We've been in similar situations. I'm sure other business owners have as well. That are listening to this, and that is one of the scarier things to do as a business owner or as an executive, is to recognize, like, we're out of alignment here. However, there's revenue tied to this. That's a scary decision to make. But I think, through your examples, through others that I've, it seems like it's a necessary move. You got to step into that discomfort, right?
Yeah, you do. And it really gets to another quality that I think is foundational for all of us, which is transparency and honesty. And too often we're tempted in the business world and guilty of it. Speaking of myself and others, guilty of foregoing transparency and honesty, and for lots of reasons, or maybe twisting it or shading it or not saying the whole thing. And what happened to me personally through this process is I became so committed to just having those transparent, open, honest conversations, no matter how difficult. And I found that life was so much easier from that point forward. Not that I was, being dishonest prior, but I think you know what I mean, where you're trying to spin it, package it,
Sure.
manipulate it. I stopped doing all that and just said, I'm just going to say it. Like the elephant in the room, we're going to put it right on the table and we're going to talk about it, right? And I do that with my clients too. We get into the hard conversations, and when things get emotional and people get angry, that's when I know we're in the real stuff. That's awesome to me. That's when I know we're really getting to the stuff now. And that's how you make progress and how you grow.
Because you're addressing the hard things. It's so easy for us to sweep the hard things under the rug until they're so painful that, like, we have no choice but to deal with them. Now you're proactively bringing the hard things out and addressing them.
Yeah, the light of day, man, it does wonders.
Yeah, love that. So if you're a business that has their eye on scaling and growth, maybe they don't want to take over the world, but they, scaling's in the plans, maybe getting acquired is in the plans. What's the impact that setting, a company that has the vision and structure so well defined through this process, what is the impact on that scalability factor and growth factor?
Yeah, it propels that growth and that scalability. But the other thing it does is for businesses that are potentially interested in sale or getting their valuation up, there's a lot of M&A going on. There's a lot of private equity. I can tell you from personal experience that operational maturity has a distinct value for somebody looking to come in and acquire your business, or just the valuation of your company, regardless of your transition plan. That might be through an ESOP or through employee ownership, or that might be, a lot of different forms. But
Sure.
That operational maturity for a long time was kind of overlooked. And I think the market has come to the point now where they realize that, you can do all the financial analysis in the world on the income statement, the balance sheet, and that's important, and you have to do that. But you have to look at what's a little bit more intangible, which is the operational maturity, and it should be proven out in the financials. But
Right.
if you see that operational maturity, you've got just an explosive company that can continue to grow regardless of what happens. Like when COVID hit in 2020, for us, it was just an issue. I mean, literally, I remember my general manager integrator at the time when we found out the world shut down, everybody's going home. We had a leadership team together, and he's the one that made the statement. He said, well, this is just an issue. Like, we're going to IDS it like we would. We're going to identify, discuss, and solve like we would any other issue. And it didn't slow us down at all. Now, I can honestly tell you that without the tools and the health that we had as a result of EOS, COVID could have been dramatically impactful to our business. And,
Sure.
it wasn't.
Sure. And it's because of that clarity that you had set. So there's real tangible value to be had. I mean, you can look at, there's tangible, there's intangible. I mean, there's obvious value in just setting these, but there's also, if you're looking to scale or even just looking at evaluations, there is tangible value to be gained from running on a system where you have clearly defined these things.
Yeah, I work a lot with financial consultants and financial experts because I am not a financial consultant or financial expert. And a lot of them talk to me about the operational maturity health that EOS brings because they recognize that when they're consulting with their clients, that component is going to be the most primary aspect of what they call value acceleration models that they build. And without that, they can't really dramatically move the needle on value acceleration.
Right.
And with it, they can. So that's the role I play when I work with them is I help businesses get healthy, get traction, get vision. I don't do the financial part. I leave that to people smarter than me.
It's good to know where you want to draw the lines. I think that's really important. That's important for everybody.
I'm honest with you, I'm a little disappointed that there are so many people smarter than me, but I do leave it to them. Yeah.
It's important to be surrounded by smarter people, I think.
Turns out they're not that hard to find. At least for me. It wasn't that hard to find.
That's a good skill in humility, I think. That's for all of us. I feel the same way. So, Mike, this has been amazing. As we start to wind down a bit, I want to ask, if you're willing to share, let's say I'm a business owner, I'm an executive, I'm intrigued, I'm interested, I'm buying into the value. What are some tactical approaches you might be willing to share that an organization could take now to start to clarify that vision and structure?
Yeah, I think if you're a business owner and you are intrigued and you're listening to Brett and I, a couple of things that I would recommend you do. One is do an organizational checkup. EOSworldwide.com has a free download. You can download the organizational checkup. I remember doing that and realizing, oh my gosh, we have a lot of areas where we can improve. That's one step you can take. I would also highly recommend that you read the book Traction. I mean, I had read the book. It wasn't until I heard an implementer explain EOS and what the journey looks like that it resonated with me. As I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I'd read the book a couple of years before. I thought, this is great, but I'm too busy. I got too many things going on. And when I heard it, I went, oh man, that's exactly why I need it now. So I would recommend you read the book Traction and or just have a conversation. Look, as I mentioned before, I've traded a paycheck for passion. I'm not looking to sell this to anybody. I don't need to at this point in my career. But if you want to just talk to somebody about your business who's been there and, share ideas, and I'm very quick to tell you whether I think you're ready and whether I think EOS would help you, you can reach out to me and I'd be happy to have that conversation. No charge for any of that.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that, Mike, and I appreciate you offering that. I think you've given people some amazing places to start, and I would second those resources just based on my experience with EOS. That everything Mike said, that's the perfect place to start. So I would agree with that, and appreciate you offering up your willingness to have a conversation, and see. I think that's important, and I think this is something that's really going to resonate with our listeners on this podcast, especially. Is there anything, Mike, that I didn't give you a chance to speak about on this topic that you want to share? I want to make sure that we're, as thorough as we can be. It's been incredibly thorough in my opinion, but anything that you feel like I haven't done a good enough job of asking you about?
No, you were phenomenal, Brett, and I appreciate all the insight and the questions and the opportunity to speak to you and your audience. I would just encourage business owners, if you're listening to us, speaking from personal experience, it's easy to get caught up in the trees, right? As I like to say, and it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day minutia of running a business. Incredibly hard to be a business leader, business owner. And the mistake I made was I waited too long, and I felt like, well, I want to look at stuff like this, but I just don't have the time. I'm too busy. I'm working this initiative, that initiative. Take a moment to step back, especially now at the end of the year, holiday season. Take a moment to think at 10,000 feet and maybe have a conversation with someone like me or somebody else about where you're headed, where you're going, and how you're going to get there, because that will allow you breakthrough, and it will allow you the peace of mind that comes from having that kind of health built into your organization.
Yes. Oh, really well put. Something you said really resonated to me too. Is like, I was actually talking to another gentleman, president of an organization the other day. They've been running on EOS for like 8 years, I want to say. And I asked him, so we're somewhat earlier on in the process than they are. I just said, do you have any regrets, in moving this? And he said, my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel as well, personally. So it's something that you had kind of alluded to there as well, is, just wish I would have done it sooner. This is such a powerful exercise.
Yeah. I think a lot of us feel that way.
Yeah. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Shows the value. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time today to speak with me. This is the part of the show where I do want to pause and just give you a few moments to plug whatever is most important to you right now. So could be a company, your services, a nonprofit, just an idea, whatever you want to plug, the floor is yours as a thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Brad. And, I guess I would just say to listeners that if you are curious about this, or if you think your business is stuck and you're hitting the ceiling, or you feel that you can get more out of your business, and you're interested in what we talked about today, you can get a hold of me. You can reach me directly at mike@yourfreedombuilders.com. YOUR, freedombuilders.com. Name of my company is Freedom Builders. And I'd be happy to talk to you and share my experiences and listen to yours. And like I said earlier, that's what I get to do all day, every day, which to me is not work. It's every day is a new adventure and having fun. So
it's a passion. I love it. We'll make sure to put that contact info in the show notes as well, so it's easier for people to reach out if they do want to reach you. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and I appreciate you sharing your wealth of knowledge with our audience and with me today. Thank you.
You bet, Brett. It's been great. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to also just take a moment to thank our listeners and viewers for tuning in to today's episode. Don't forget to please like and subscribe if you're getting value from the content that we are putting out there. You can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever it is that you get your podcasts these days. Please give us a rating and a review while you're there. And just a reminder, you can watch, like, and subscribe on YouTube as well. And then visit exploringpotential.com for more information about our team and the work that we get to do every day. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.